Buddy, it's Monday, January 19th, and I love books. And one of the books, or a couple books that I read every day, is one, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and his mentor, Robert Greene, The Daily Laws. And the reason I review these is that a lot of times we need reminders of some really important things that some of these things can be really basic, but we need to hear them again. And so, really, my intent is when I find nuggets, I want to be able to share them with all of you, and hopefully, you can benefit from them. So, one of the other books that I bought a number of years ago is called The Guide to the Good Life. And there's so many amazing topics in here. And one of the ones that I really like in here, and I'll kind of summarize this and share what is the key nugget of the day. And in this book, it is based upon Stoic philosophy. And in this chapter, he talks about really hedonic adaptation. And that's really where we're just, as humans, we become unsatiable. And I'll read a couple things here that I think you'll find helpful. We humans are unhappy in a large part because we are insatiable. And he goes on to talk about like the treadmill of life, right? We've all heard the treadmill of life. And he offers us some guidance around how do we deal with this treadmill of life where we might achieve something, we always want more, right? And there's nothing wrong with being successful, wanting more money, and so forth. But it's when that really starts to take control of our life and really starts to make us unhappy. And this book, I was in an unhappy place many years ago, really helped me through thinking about this. So I'll read a couple paragraphs here, and so this is where he's talking about right this treadmill. He said, as a result of this adaptation process, we find ourselves on this satisfaction treadmill. They are unhappy when they detect an unfulfilled desire in them. They work hard to fulfill this desire in the belief that on fulfilling it, it will gain them happiness. The problem, though, is that once they fulfill a desire for something, they adapt into for its presence in their life, and as a result, they stop desiring it. Right. And he gives some examples about, your job, your spouse, and so forth. And he said, or at any rate, they don't find it desirable as they once did. They end up just as dissatisfied as they were before fulfilling the desires. Right. So it's this unsatiable urge that we have in ourselves as humans. And so he offers really a solution to this. What is the solution? One key to happiness then is to forestall this adaptation process. We need to take steps to prevent ourselves from taking for granted, once we get them, the things that we work so hard to get. And because we've probably failed to take the steps in the past, there are doubtless many things in our life to which we've adapted. Like we all have this, right? We've adapted to our job and our relationship and so forth. The things we once dreamed of having, but that now we've taken them for granted, including perhaps our spouse, our children, our house, our car, and our job. This means that besides finding a way to forestall the adaptation process, we need to find a way to reverse it. In other words, we need a technique for creating in ourselves a desire for things that we already have. And I know it sounds so basic, right? Around the world and throughout millennia, those who have thought carefully about the workings of desire have recognized this. Now here's the nugget. And I have this highlighted because it's like so true. The easiest way for us to gain happiness is to learn to want the things that we already have. This advice is easy to state and it's doubtless true. The trick is putting it into practice in our life. How, after all, can we convince ourselves to want the things that we already have? So that's really the question for all of us. There's these things, and I sometimes see, and I talk to a lot of people. They're bitching and complaining about all these things that, frankly, a lot of them are so irrelevant. And I think if really embrace this idea of really loving the things that we already have, I believe not only we're going to be happier, right? But as we go throughout our days, we'll probably be a little less stressed and so forth. And so here's maybe the assignment for today. Take a pause and think about all the amazing things that you have in your life, your health, your family, your friends, and really embrace those and love them. And think about maybe there's something that you're doing and you're pursuing something that's really driving you astray because you feel unsatisfied or you're just insatiable for that thing. Well, anyway, this was the nugget that I reminded myself today, and I'm hoping that this short session of sharing it with you can maybe help influence you and maybe kind of dose of happiness today. Take care.